So I think you two have just shifted me a bit. How I'm going to start this. So, in a really wonderful way, and it's such a great demonstration of where I'm going. So, the thing that happens here when I don't coordinate what you sing and how you sing it, and the energy you bring to it and everything, and the way it perfectly aligns with where I'm going in my talk, is evidence of God everywhere in everything. Because obviously, Spirit was moving through the two of you, was moving through me, and we never had a conversation about what it was we were going to bring together to this morning. And God, just...
It's divine.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. And that's what Dia was reading about. That when we are aware of this substance and we just stay in the substance, miracles happen. And we just have to show up as we are with what's in our hearts and in our minds. And it happens. It happens. It happens. So, sorry, things are shifting as So last Sunday's meeting was wonderful. Thank you to everybody who showed up. Man, we had 21, including me, and I was showing up as both spiritual leader and as someone also being fed through this community. And we had a lot of energy, a lot of great suggestions. It just went beautifully, and there's some information from your email yesterday, and we'll be talking about it later. But what I realized is that I talk about unity principles all the time, but because I don't say, this is the particular principle I'm talking about at this moment, you don't know, a lot of you don't know it's a unity principle. I'm always talking about them because I'm always using them in my life, but you're not recognizing them if you're not familiar with unity and its 5 principles. You're not recognizing them as that. So when I remember or I'm prompted by the great all there is, I will say that now so that you'll recognize them for what they are. So what has happened here, and everything that happens when we're together, all of this miraculous synchronicity is divine substance at work. And the the first principle is God is everywhere and in everything. God is all there is. So unity does not recognize a little critter called a devil, an anthropomorphic being that's skittering around the universe, whispering in Jerry's ear. Oh, I know he's whispering in Jerry's ear. Or whispering in mine or Fred's. Oh, my God. Yes.
You know what's crawling
Ooh. Or Judy's. Ooh. She's a troublemaker right there. There is no such being skittering around and whispering and tempting us to do things. We don't recognize that. A lot of faiths, a lot of religious traditions do. Because we do believe that God is all there is. And if God is all there is, there's no space for such a critter. There's no space for it. Yes. The critter. If I thought he existed, he would be mad right now. Then I called him a critter. And he would probably be yelling at me right now. You called me a critter? I got you, critter. So if God is in and through everything, everything, think about that. Wrap your head, and if not your head, your heart around that every single thing you see and perceive, everything you don't see and perceive is God. That's what we believe. And if you're not there yet, I get it. Because there's a lot to look at and you say, if that's God, I'm kind of scared. And the first time I heard the first principle, I went there. And I thought, there's a lot of things I see that I don't like. How can that be God? How can that be God? And part of me said, can't be. Can't be. But I went into Unity with an open heart and an open mind and said, I'm going to listen, because what they said to me is, the principles are a way of life. Principles are a way of life. And you can test them. You can work with them and see if they work for you. And if they don't work for you, then discount them. Throw them out and go do something else. And I thought, man, nobody's ever said that to me before about a faith tradition. Never even broached that. It's like, here's what we believe. Take that in, do that, believe that, and don't ask questions. Yeah, definitely don't ask questions. And so I said, I'll just be open about this. And so I questioned when I saw things that disturbed me, how can this be God? It doesn't mean, well, this is not quite a principle. We don't believe, let me back up a bit. So God is energy and principle. And again, not something that is directing, that is making you do one thing or handing you something and handing somebody else something else. But is energy, is the all there is. Again, everything that exists, everything that you see is of God. Not that God is making things happen. So when you look at Hurricane Helene, that wasn't God trying to wipe out a certain segment of the U.S. because they sinned a whole lot. Yet some people go there. So that's not our belief. You know, things happen in the world, and a lot of things affect different things. So if you watch the Discovery Channel or National Geographic, then you know that things that happen on the sub-Saharan continent can affect what happens here weeks or months later. And so there's a million different things happening in the universe at one time that probably made Hurricane Helene happen. And some of it may also be our consciousness as human beings. Now, I don't know what percentages are responsible for what. I don't need to do that, because my belief is certainly in that God is in and of everything. And so I believe that even if I don't think something is good, if I have not judged it good, then I think of it as being good for me in some way. I just need to be open to it. I do believe that because God is the all there is, that we are also supported, and that there is a grand plan that perhaps we are executing with God, because we are one with that spirit, with that principle. We are of that principle. I know there's a lot of philosophy, different philosophies about us co-creating with God, because we are also that life, that principle. We are made in the image and likeness, and so we are that thing in individual packages. That's unity belief. So it is a lot to take in. And yet, when I got there, it changed everything for me. It made life more peaceful because I don't stress about stuff, or I try not to, and when I do, I remind myself of the principle that God is in everything. God is divine ideas, and everything you see in the world came from an idea first. Again, the chairs you're sitting on, the material it's made from, the metal, the fabric, the cushioning, all of that came from an idea. Somebody had that and created it, and it became manifest in this world. But it came from an idea first. Somebody said, we need a chair that looks and feels like that. And we're going to mass produce them. So at Unity Saxe can have 40 of them in their sanctuary. He did it just for us. Despite the critter not wanting us to have them. Because the critter knew I was going to call him a critter. Yeah, let him sit on the floor, right? But really, God is all there is. So I trust that there is something more happening when I look at something that seems to be, that I have judged to be, negative. There's always some beauty in everything we judge disastrous. Some beauty always comes out of it, always, if we're willing to look for it. It may change us, it may move us. Look at how horrific 9/11 was. But look at some of the things that came out of that. Yes, there was deep, intense suffering from that. And some people are still suffering from it because it was just 23 years ago. Just 23 years ago. But yet so many people died. And then we had a war because of it that lasted years, and more people died. And yet, it brought us together as a nation for a time. And then we forgot that we are one and we're all in this together because we got far enough away from it. We forgot the all there is and that we are a part of it. So this first principle is a lot to take in, but if you can get that, the rest of it is easy. So all of this, the divine ideas, what God is, that is the substance that feeds us mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. That's the substance from which all things come. That's why I love that scripture. Be still and know that I am God, because it takes you back to principle 1. So every single time you end up, I call it when I'm in the ditch, face down, snorting in dirt because something has gone wrong, or I think something has gone wrong, and I'm just flailing around in life, I go to that. Be still and know that I am God. And it might be that I'm still laying in the metaphoric ditch. I may still be there, but I'm still. And I'm trying to embrace principle 1. Be still and know that I am God. And that makes me okay. In fact, it makes me better than okay. Because then I don't have to worry. Because then I know if I can recognize now that God is here Now that God is everywhere, even as Paul and I were talking about earlier, God is even in the ditch with me. God is the ditch also. I don't have to lay in the ditch and look for God or turn over and try to find him in the sky, because he's not sitting up there 20,000 feet up watching planes go over him. He's in the ditch. He's with me. He's in my sorrow. He's in my confusion. He's in my frustration. He's in that emotion. He's in there with me, waiting for me to recognize him and say, be still and know that I am God. So when you run up on things and you say, can't be God in this situation, just be still. Be still, be still, be still, be still. God is everywhere in everything. So sometimes when I'm out and I'm in those situations, I have to say that. Sometimes when I'm in a conflict with someone, I have to look at them and say, God is there too. They also are individualized expression of the divine. And I let that settle. I get still about that. And I might still be in the conflict. My mouth might still be going. Their mouth might still be going. We might be at each other, but I'm still thinking God is in the midst, and God is there in them, and God is in me, and we are all one. And if you can get to that realization, you'll probably forget what the heck you were arguing about. Because at some point, there's nothing to argue about anymore. Like Maya Angelou's poem. When we can get to that, and we recognize that we are that peaceful being, that we are the magnificence of the world, then nothing else matters. All that other small stuff goes poof, like that. And if you're still fussing, you're not there yet. And like I've said before, sometimes you just need to get still, stop arguing, stop talking. That's what I have to do. Usually, Spirit is saying, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. Be still and know that I am God. I used to translate Spirit saying, be quiet to me as in, just shut your mouth. You know how my parents used to do. I shouldn't put your parents in there. Mine, just be quiet. But it's never that. It's always be still, because there's peace in this moment if you'll let it be peaceful. And sometimes I said, okay, and peace came. Sometimes I said, and the conflict continued. So you get to choose whether you see God everywhere or not. You can continue to see death and devastation. Or you can choose to see that there's something greater going on than you can perceive in the moment. And you can just claim that, yes, God is here too. What you claim and what you believe, you get. That first principle, it is a big chunk of realization, but it can change your life. It can change your world. Look, we got this election coming up, and people are all over the place. Mostly dug into their positions, leagues away from each other, chattering about what they believe and what's happening, and, fake news and misinformation. This one's lying. Everybody's lying. Oh, my God, nobody has said a word of truth anywhere. If you listen to people, especially on social media, everybody's dug in somewhere. And I don't know, what's going to happen to the other half, or the other 49% when the 51% wins? I don't know. Everybody keeps thinking the world is going to change dramatically the day after. Most of life is not going to change. But we can see God in this also. And we'll have a peaceful, how many days are left? They keep reminding us how many days are left. Is it 30 now? You can have a peaceful 30 days, even if you haven't had any peace in this election cycle. And there's always an election cycle, because there'll be another one on November 8th. They'll be starting that one already. But you can have a peaceful 30 days. And when people get in their stuff, you can sit there smiling, looking at them. And they'll wonder what's wrong with you. Because I do it all the time, and people are wondering, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you talking? Whose side are you on? Man, I'm peaceful. I don't have anything to say. You all keep arguing. I'm going to sit here and do my peace thing. I'm going to sit here and know that God is present in all of this, and particularly in myself, so that I don't have to do this dramatic stuff with you. It's interesting how many people think something's wrong with me because I choose to be peaceful during this period. What's wrong with you that you don't have a fight? I don't care. I don't care. Because I choose peace. I choose to see God in everything. And so, yes, I find it. They don't, because they don't choose it. They don't want it. They want the fight. You can always choose the fight. There's always a fight. There's always. You can make one up. My parents did it all the time, and then I learned how to do that. And then I had to unlearn it. So I could not have a relationship where there was a fight all the time. Even the ones, especially the ones I made up. That's the thing I love about these principles, that they have to do with the living, with the every single day decisions, the choices that we make about how we're going to move through life, the song that we sing. The song that we sing. I wrote that down as soon as you said it. Life is how we sing the song. And maybe the converse. The song is how we live our lives. I choose to sing a song of God for my life. And I'll sing it all day, every day. Even when it gets uncomfortable. Even when I say, this can't be God right here. Where is God in this moment? I'll still sing the song. If nothing else, now I sing it even louder because I know it's just a shift within me. I just got to sing the right song.
And we're writing the next verse.
Yes. Yes.
Sounds like a song.
Sounds like another song. So before I discovered these unity principles, I had a song, but I didn't want to sing it. And it was terrible to listen to. It had no rhythm, it had no rhyme, it had no harmony. Sometimes a measure would drop out and there's no song. There's no connection to the next thing I'm singing. I was all over the place. All over the place. Because I was living from everything outside of me, and all I saw were circumstances, and that drove what I believed. That drove what I believed. So if I was mad at my boyfriend at the time, I'm talking about 30 years ago. Not now, dear. Oops. So yes, this was happening 30 years ago. If my boyfriend was mad at me or I was mad at him, I had a bad day. And life was terrible. And usually, because, I had self-esteem problems, self-worth problems, when he decided that everything was okay, then life was good. Because I was usually the one shifting, compromising to make everything okay. Whew, got rid of that. That's a whole nother talk. The whole other principle. Whew. Thank God for unity principles. Everything outside of me determined how my life was the song. So I was picking up other people's songs, singing their songs for them, and trying to make them mine. Singing things that were not for me, not in my key. I'm really going with the song thing now. I couldn't get the rhythm right. So everything was bad. Everything was stressful. Everything was painful. And then I started to live from inside me, from my divinity, knowing that God is in everything, everywhere, at all times, especially here. Which is principle number 2. Especially here. And I started to live from that outward. And what I felt in here mirrored what was out there. It was before, it was just ugly. Now I found beauty within, and there was a whole lot more beauty out here. I loved the song that I was singing that was mine, that I created, that I loved singing, that resonated with my heart, my mind, my soul, my body. And life got good. Even when people were saying, this don't look so good. And I would say to them, you don't see what I see. You don't feel what I feel. You don't know what I know. So you can stop stressing about my life because I'm not stressing about it. That's what principle 1 is. That's what principle 1 can do if you'll embrace it. It feels so good to be in the midst of something painful or sad or catastrophic, whatever it is you're going to name it, and then know that it is all good. And you are going to be okay. In fact, you're okay now because you have the power of the universe within you. We talked about the kingdom of God being within us a couple of weeks ago. The kingdom of God right here. So there's nothing to worry about out here. Nothing, nothing, nothing. That's the power of that first principle. That's the power of the first principle. And that you can live with. You can test it. Start tomorrow and go through your day, and every single time you feel yourself getting caught up in something negative, affirm that God is there in the moment and is in that situation and is within you. It is you and is guiding you through whatever is happening out here, and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, don't do it again. You don't have to listen to me. It's all about what you believe and what happens within you. Doesn't matter what I say up here. You test it. You live it. You decide if it works or not. You decide if it works or not. It only matters what you think. It only matters what you believe. And it only matters what you live. The only thing that matters is the song you sing. So let's take this into meditation. So God is everywhere and in everything. So pick something, just one thing, that's a challenge for you to see God in that. Maybe it's a place in the world. Maybe it's something in your life. Maybe it's a relationship you have. Maybe you have a bias about a group of people, a culture, a religion. And when you have that particular thing in your mind, I invite you to affirm that God is everywhere and in everything. And get curious about how you can see it and start to feel it. And if you're really struggling, ask Spirit to show you. Get still and know that God is there. Affirm, I open my eyes to the existence, the presence of God in this. I open my heart to the presence of God in this. I open my eyes to the presence of God in him, in her, in them. I open my heart to the realization that God is everywhere in everything. I open my eyes to the realization that God is within me. What does that feel like? I open my eyes to the realization that God is in every cell of my body. I open my eyes to the realization that God is greater than any situation, circumstance. Any conflict, any diagnosis. I open my eyes to the realization that God is present in my work life, in my finances, in my relationships, in my heart, in my mind. In my spirit. I open my eyes to the realization that there is only love. For if God is everywhere, love is everywhere. Be still and know that I am God. Everywhere, in all things. In every molecule, every atom, every breeze that blows, every flower that blooms. In the first breath of life, in the last breath of physical life. In every heart, in every being. I open my heart to the realization that God is everywhere and in everything. I open my heart. So let's take a deep breath. Breathe in. We breathe in God. We exhale God. We breathe in love. We exhale love. Knowing that God in love is infinite, inexhaustible, more powerful than anything in this physical realm. More powerful than anything in this physical realm. And each of us is an individualized expression of that magnificence. Be still and know that I am God. And so it is, and so it shall be. Amen.